Hello everyone, Miss Christina here. For today's After School Club project, we're going to be conducting a chromatography experiment. So we need you to find a couple things to do this project. You're going to want to find markers, specifically water-based or washable, like Crayola markers, Rose Art markers. Permanent markers don't work really well for this experiment, and I'll show you why in a little bit. Also make sure that one of your washable markers is a black marker. They do something really cool in this experiment. Next thing you're going to need is a container with water in it. Just about an inch of water. See that? I'm using a clear glass so that you can see the reaction happening once we get going. You can use a Tupperware container, you can use a coffee mug, it'll all work. Just make sure there's just about an inch of water in the bottom. Then you're going to need either paper towel or a coffee filter. I don't have coffee filters, but they work really well. I'm just going to use paper towel. You need to cut that into strips, about 2 inches wide, and you need the strip to be taller than your container because we're going to be folding it over the edge to hold it on. So just hold it up to measure and make sure it's going to fit. All right. So, chromatography. In chemistry, chromatography is the process that's used to separate components in a mixture. So we do this, so our mixture, in this case, is going to be the ink that's in a marker. So that's our mixture. So we pass this mixture in a stream of a solvent. A solvent is something that you are going to use to dissolve something else in. In this case, it's our water. And then we're going to need material to pass that mixture and that solvent through, and that's our strips of coffee filter or paper towel. So the different components in our mixture are going to interact differently with this paper as the water passes through, and that's going to break it into its component parts. Now, if you know a little bit about how color mixing works, you're going to have an idea of what this is going to end up doing. Colors like yellow, red, and blue aren't going to do as much in this project, but I recommend you give it a try to see what it does. Where things get interesting is colors that are made up of more than one color. So the classic example is orange, green, and purple. There are secondary colors. They're made by mixing red, yellow, and blue together. Then there's the black marker. So this is where things get interesting because it's not just black. Black is made up in pigments and ink. It's made up of all the other colors combined. So this is going to do some really cool things once we get going. All right, let's get started. So we got your inch of water in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the marker to draw a line on our paper towel. Now you don't want to do it all the way at the bottom because that's the part we're going to stick in the water. And if you actually submerge the line in the water, this isn't going to work. It's just going to go down into the water and make the water all muddy. So we're going to take our first strip of paper and I'm going to take my black marker. So I'm going to draw a line across about an inch up, just so I'm sure I have lots of room between the water level and where that marker line is. So that's all I'm doing. Nice little bit of space there, lots of room above. I'm going to do a purple one too. So there's my purple. And I'm going to do that same distance up. And I'm going to draw a line. And there's my line in purple. All right, here's the fun part. So you're going to take your container of water, and you're going to put this in so that just that little bit of the bottom is actually touching the water. You don't need to dunk the whole thing in. The water's going to do all the work for you. So put that in, just the bottom, and I'm going to fold this top over so that it stays in place without me having to hold it. All right. So what we're about to witness, you can see it already starting to move a little. This is called capillary action. Water is kind of sticky. it wants to travel. If you ever look at the side of a glass, you'll see the water isn't perfectly level. When it gets to the edge, it starts climbing up the wall. Hold up your glass, you'll see. What it's going to happen here is that water wants to get to the dry part of the paper. So it's going to start climbing up and up and up, and it's going to take the pigment in our marker with it. So it's already started. I'm going to get a little closer. See how it's starting to separate out? It's all blue on the bottom. Now it started purple. It's blue on the bottom, pink at the top, and then it's still purple in the middle. So that's going to keep climbing as I let it sit. We're going to let that one keep going. I'll turn my glass here so we have a clear workspace here. Let's go back to that black piece marker. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to do the same thing. Just the very bottom of that paper in the water, and then I'm going to fold over the top to hold it in place. All right. You'll be able to see the paper start to get wet as soon as you touch it. So you'll know that you're good. All right. So that's getting started. We'll give that a minute for the water to catch up. I'm going to show you, earlier I tried this with the permanent marker. And I'm going to show you the difference between what's happening here and what happened to the permanent marker paper. I left this in the water for about 15 minutes. See how it never moved at all? And that's what makes it permanent. When we write on something with permanent marker, you can get it wet, you can smudge it, and it's going to stay in one place. Water isn't going to make it move. Other solvents might. So maybe you can do an experiment later trying maybe rubbing alcohol or vinegar and see if either one of those make that permanent line move. Mine did not. All right, looks like the black marker is starting to separate. A little closer here. So it's kind of a pinky red at the bottom. It's kind of a muddy color, and there's still a lot of black, but there's a little blue coming up at the top. So you can let this sit for quite some time. You have a lot of paper here to work with, and it's going to keep climbing. And when you're ready, you can take it out, and then you're going to want a plate or a piece of tin foil or something to lay these out flat on so they can dry. Even after you take these out and lay them flat, the ink is going to keep moving. So you can maybe even make a mark when you pull it out of here with a pencil or a permanent marker, just a little dot on the side showing how far it had traveled when you pulled it out, because it is going to travel more. Example is, here's one I did in purple. I had stopped this, I had a pencil mark on here, about here. That's where I pulled it out of the water. And I put it down and it came back later and it had grown all this way more. I didn't know it was going to do that. That's the great thing about science, is you don't always know the result you're going to get, but it's fun to try. Some colors aren't going to travel as much. This is one I did with an orange marker. That's as far as it got. It was in there the same amount of time as that purple was. So you can see it. A little pink at the bottom, kind of orangey yellow at the top. So different markers are going to have different results. Let's see how our purple and our black are doing. So there's the purple. Got a lot of blue showing up there and that pink above. And here's our black. So when it gets to the top of the glass, it's going to arc over and keep going. So don't worry about that. If you have a taller glass, you'll only have to fold the tip and you'll get to see that climb. Now, this is going to take about 10 minutes to finish, so I'm going to show you, fast forward a little and show you what the black looks like at the end. This was a line of black down here, just like I did on the other one. I promise, it really did look like this when I started. Look at all that red. And that blue and the green was still traveling up when it just ran out of room. So you might want to try this with a longer piece of paper, see what happens, maybe try it with less of the black marker. You could do just a dot and see what happens. So that's what the black's going to do. You could try brown. Is also, it's not quite as colorful as the black, but brown's another good one to get that really wide range of colors. So this is going to keep going. I recommend that you start with the water-based markers, because they're a lot of fun and they're really pretty. But you can try different things. You could even make a race between two. You can take one of these, do a black dot on one side or a black little short line, and then let's do green. do a green line. And see which one travels fast and farthest, because there is going to be a difference. The different color inks are going to react differently with the paper, and they're going to travel differently. Some are not going to go as far. So experiment, have fun, keep some of your pretty pieces of paper to show off at the end, and have a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed today's project, and I look forward to bringing you something different next week. Have a great week, guys. I miss you so much.